40 pounds, and it's 1,000 pounds of fuel per pound. That's 20 tons of fuel that you don't need.
Exactly. That's a good point. Very good point.
Just for this. And then why is it back on? The legs didn't get damaged. The Mylar's there to protect the legs. Why don't you take it off all the legs? They're just aluminum.
There's no need to have it on in the first place.
Right. If it didn't need to be there,
No.
then take the rest of it off. There's at least another 20, 25 pounds per leg here, plus the secondary struts that it doesn't need to be on. You could get rid of another 150, 200 pounds of Mylar off of this machine because you don't have to wrap the feet or anything else.
It just shows up better in photographs, doesn't it?
But they should have learned this.
Yeah.
Aren't these guys scientists, PhDs, and all of that stuff? And then the payload specialists that are trying to drop the weight down all the time. Look at all those guys. And they couldn't see this and say, hey, we don't need it? If this happened in Apollo 14, for whatever reason they didn't put it on, and they go, hey, look at this. Everything worked really well. Well, let's drop all of this. You get rid of a couple 100 pounds. You're talking over 100 tons of fuel, minimum, that you could get rid of.
Yeah, because that's got to go all the way to the moon. So it's not just going to Earth orbit. So they've got to have the extra fuel.
Well, 1,000 pounds of fuel per payload, for 1 pound of payload.
Yep, that's right.
So you get rid of 40 pounds there. You could easily get rid of another 200 pounds.
Not very clever, these people, are they?
No. But it's in the photographs.
Because the photographs look so much better with Mylar all over the place.
There's enough Mylar that they could have stripped off of here that they then, in Apollo 15, could have added the rover and say they didn't gain any weight.
That rover weighed 450 pounds here on Earth.
I've never seen if that included the batteries or not, because the batteries are 65 kilos apiece.
Wow, okay. The 65
Okay.
kilos is what? 140 pounds?
So that's 260 pounds on top of the 450 of the rest of the rover, I would guess.
You'd think they'd have got slightly better quality batteries than they use. They were truck batteries.
They were zinc acid, not lead acid batteries.
All right, okay.
So they hold a denser charge, but they're non-rechargeable. And anytime you see a zinc acid battery listed in the Apollo, which all of them were except for the ones for the experimental station, because you have a charger that's charging it back up. So it has to be a lead acid battery to do that.
That's true.
Zinc acid batteries don't charge up, but when I read all the documentation on everything else, in the CSM and that, and they're using zinc acid batteries in there, you can't charge them up, and then you read an updated PDF file that says, oh, they charge them up every 10 or 12 hours on their way there. Read an updated PDF file that says, oh, they charge them up every 10 or 12 hours on their way there. Well, with what? All of a sudden they come up with a nuclear generator on top of the thing to charge it up with?
No, because they knew they had to show that the batteries were recharged, otherwise they wouldn't have lasted long enough.
Right, they had to do that, so they now installed something to charge it up on the thing, and they weren't carrying that kind of nuclear devices on their thing in case it blew up on takeoff, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So, one anomaly, they try to cover up one fact that the batteries wouldn't last that long. And then if you have a nuclear generator on board, then the batteries are just backup.
Yeah.
Your entire machine is going to be running on that thing all the time. You don't turn them off and then back on again, those things. You turn them on and they stay on. Just like when you put that charge core into the RTG, it runs and that's it. You don't need to go near it, or you don't want to go near it. There's more and more anomalies in every one of these things, but this is unique because the weight factor was so important. I mean, when they say they counted every stitch in a spacesuit, right? And here's 40 pounds. Don't need it. And realizing that the rest of the legs don't need it. So you've got a few 100 pounds that you can strip off of this thing right away.
Yeah, I can.
And that would be a huge find or discovery to be able to do that. And they did not do it. And my theory is it's the same vehicle being used over and over again. And Apollo 12, they're all getting moldy. They're covered in water at the bottom of them, and so they just strip them off. And you can see it in Apollo 12. They're so dark